It's doing that spinning that we're kind of going live, but not quite. Doing its thing. All right. I see us. I think we are live, Brett.
Are we showing up? We got
You're
it.
showing up.
So
You're showing up, although I think you got to. Yep, we're good. Kick it off, Brett.
We gotta share. Ooh, how do I share? The gallery view. There we go.
Gallery view.
The gallery. All right. The boys are back.
After a little bit of a COVID hiatus, we are back.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Can everyone hear each other?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Welcome back, everyone. I think it's been 5 months since we've gone live and got the crew together, got the Edge team together. If you guys don't know us, my name is Brett. I work at Edge and I handle kind of business development, marketing, and anything that Paul, who's our CEO, needs help on. And Paul is a co-founder and CEO of Edge. And we are joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, Isaiah Jackson, author of a great book, Bitcoin in Black America. Welcome, Isaiah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here, be talking with you and Paul, man. Always good.
Awesome. So start our users off with kind of a little backstory on yourself. And I think that's a good segue into Bitcoin. It's kind of like why we're all here. You know, what's your backstory, how you got into it, what angle you came at it from, and then we'll start to get into the book.
Oh, yeah. So I got involved in the Bitcoin space in 2013 when it was considered very risque and edgy. And, I got in around the Mt. Gox Silk Road times simply because of the bad news that was about it, started seeing that. But I learned about it from a friend who worked for a bank, ironically. And one of the best parts about it was tech-based. I was based in the tech world and as an IT professional. And, I got it kind of why, but at the same time, I got a few pointers and videos to point me in the right direction financially. So use that experience to start educational courses and continue 2016. And to become more efficient, so to say, that brought me to the book, which was written last year in 2019, Bitcoin in Black America. Quest has been not only using Bitcoin myself, but also practicing what I preach and teaching others as well.
So you use Bitcoin?
Well,
not just a hodler of Bitcoin. So share with us. I'm curious. Like many people are into Bitcoin for a few different reasons. You know, you've got the hodlers, you got the people who are trying to get it. You know, that are hedging inflation, trying to send money cross borders. What have you found is kind of the use case for you?
Oh yeah, so the store of value is number one. I've used it as a savings account for the last 7 years. As a way to teach people, I've donated a lot of Bitcoin over the years. Not as much a trader anymore. When I first started, I dabbled in trading, but more dollar cost averaging. Use it in that way. Also, whenever I get in any type of tight pinches, which I have before, Bitcoin is always a good backup option with cash instead of cash. So yeah, those are a few ways that I use it. And I encourage people to use it more as a store of value. And also, like you said, a hedge against inflation, simply because we know it's going to happen. So why not have that insurance, so to say?
Got it. And you come from a tech background. Like I listened to some of the podcasts you're on, Pomp Podcast. I know you're on Peter McCormick's, and you'd mentioned that you'd done IT in the past. Did that help at all in kind of understanding Bitcoin? Do you think that's kind of a challenge that many non-tech people, maybe some people in the Black community, have with grasping what this thing is and how it works and why I should care about it? Is the technology piece more of an issue, or is it a lot of people? It's just what is money, and people don't understand what money is. That makes it hard for them to grasp Bitcoin. What do you think it was for maybe your friends and family and for yourself?
Oh yeah. So when I first started, the tech side of it was the big, deterrent. People thought it was just, guys in hoodies in their mom's basement, making up magical money. And I'm sort of the tech person in my
Kind of
family.
true. Kind of
Yeah,
true.
so that's kind of how it started. I'm the tech person in my family. Anytime somebody had a computer broken or somebody needed something, I was that guy. So me talking about some sort of new money system that was tech based, it was sort of a deterrent at first. But as the tech started developing to where it's easier for people to use it, you're right. The money aspect, people understanding what money is. You would mention inflation, and people had no clue what that is. Federal Reserve. I've never seen this many people in my life talk about the Federal Reserve in my life. I mean literally.
You're surrounded by them.
Yeah,
You're in the echo chamber now, being in
yeah,
Bitcoin.
no, and that's the thing. A lot of people didn't know about that. So when you start to delve deeper into Bitcoin, I think both of those things have been deterrents for people. But now that they're seamlessly joining together at a point where anybody can use it, use the tech, you don't have to be, a genius, so to say. That is formidable for the future, I think. So that was early, but I think we're getting to a better spot now.
So you're class of 2013. Same here, actually. So first of all, for that, kind
Okay.
of started about the same time.
Yeah.
But a lot's changed. A lot's changed since we first started in here. What are the biggest things you think that have helped and hurt Bitcoin that's changed from back then to today, especially how it relates to your community and them, adopting it? What's been the big driver that's like, oh, it's way easier for me to explain, way easier to onboard people, blah, 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 versus what things have made it harder in that sense, if there have been anything.
Okay. Well, what has made it easier is a lot of onboarding ramps. For example, I would say like Edge is definitely very easy to use. Even back, I'm from the Airbits days, back when Glidera. Back. So that was the easiest. That was
the business directory.
Exactly. That was
the business
directory. That was the easiest way for me back when I started, 2014, 15, around that time, to actually buy Bitcoin. So now we have up to Edge Wallet, even like
lots
Cash
of places.
App. Everybody has
Cash
App. I mean, that to me validates it in the Black community with a lot of people, because when you say Bitcoin, they think it's some outside thing sometimes. When they see it on a service that they already use, I think that actually helps in my community. And I think that's what has helped the most. If I had to say something has deterred it, the only thing I would say is the media. A lot of people in my community still rely on the media for most of their news, and unfortunately, they actually are wrong about the things they say about the Black community a lot of times. So if you just treat Bitcoin like that, you basically get your answers. Like, do the opposite of what the media says. I've got like a 90% hit rate doing the opposite of what the media says.
I think there's a term for that, something like the Magellan effect, where if you're an expert in one subject and you read the newspaper and you realize it's basically all wrong, or like not only just wrong, but the opposite of the truth. But then you go to another section where you don't know anything about it, and then you just assume it's right. And I think that's what you're describing, where like the Black community has been misrepresented in the media over time, again and again and again, and they know it. But then when the media talks about Bitcoin, you're still like accepting that a narrative from organizations that constantly misrepresent things, right? And I think that's the issue that you're getting at there.
It's just to a lot of people, they don't have a better source of truth in that sense. But it is kind of ironic. Nick, you just said, media being the big issue, and a lot of your communities, Black community still listens to media, yet they already know not to trust them. And you made a really good analogy on one of the podcasts I listened to you on, in that you liken the Black community to Bitcoin in the sense that there's this overarching pressure to almost suppress both communities, but suppress Bitcoin, make sure it doesn't get too powerful. It's not like totally ban and put people in jail that are using Bitcoin, not totally, ban and put Black people in jail, but there's that attempt at suppressing and coming from both government and media. And that was an interesting analogy that I hadn't really thought about before. Is that something that's spoken a lot within the Black community, or is that a conversation that comes up when you kind of introduce people into crypto?
Absolutely. That is one of the best any presentation do, because that actually connects it in their mind, because then they're like, you're right. They isn't anything that may be a threat to the status quo. And Bitcoin has been constantly, battered down. I mean, it's been called everything. Tulips. I forgot what Warren Buffett called it. Rat's turd or something. Whatever. It's been called everything.
Rat poison.
Rat poison. Yes. So
rat poison. Except
it's
who's the
been,
rat?
Yeah, exactly.
It is rat poison. Just who's the rat?
It is rat poison. Exactly. So, I related that way, and that is one of the analogies that I often use in order to help my community understand that, yes, this is something that will shake up the status quo. It will change the way things are. And that is one of the reasons why you see what you see. And we're starting to see sort of a flip where people are starting to start like, yeah, you should buy Bitcoin, you should buy crypto by some of these bigger companies. I've even warned against that because I've said, look, they're going to try and take credit for the innovation that was there for you to be self-sovereign before they even showed up. So, I always use that analogy and try to make sure people in my community learn about it that way.
Yeah. And Isaiah, you also you had a whole chapter in your book about the 21st century economy and how entrepreneurial the Black community is and has been, especially when they've been marginalized in a lot of economic areas of life. So you have to be creative. And you talked about how there's a natural overlap between Bitcoin and that spirit, and how Bitcoin kind of brings out an entrepreneurial spirit in everyone. And I wanted you to kind of expand on why that is, or what attributes of Bitcoin kind of unlock that for people, or might, maybe change their mindset a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So when you start a business, so to say, in the regular way, you get an LLC, you earn money. Those things are steps that you can take to get started in the financial system. However, there are barriers to that entry, and in the Black community, we've seen that yes, you can get an LLC, but how hard is it to get a loan? How hard is it to sort of get commercial real estate for a building? So those things sort of deter people from that the old way. With Bitcoin, it does make you inherently entrepreneurial, in my opinion, because all of the different areas that you can use Bitcoin, you basically turn into your own business. I have Bitcoin, I can use it for this. I can sell goods for Bitcoin. I can actually earn Bitcoin, learn and earn type things. You turn into yourself into a business. And then going forward, using Bitcoin, those deterrents that were there before are gone. Bitcoin's for everybody. So if you join the industry and you have a viable product, you can earn money without having to go through the legacy loan system. So I think the entrepreneurial part of it is great. I think the third parties that are involved are sort of getting their piece of the cake for now, but at a certain point, people will want to accept Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin mostly, instead of turning it into cash directly, because I think the volatility scares some people off. But as an entrepreneur, Bitcoin should be a part of your strategy.
Yeah, part of being an entrepreneur, and Paul can definitely speak to this, is weathering volatility, ups and downs, and then long-term thinking and taking on risks. And I think, like you said, Bitcoin exemplifies all those things. And I think you brought up a good point that I wanted to jump on as well, where you talked about how in the legacy system, it's a credit-based system, and certain communities have been, and it's a little sneakier now how it's done, not as explicit, right? There has been, I don't want to make it seem like, everything's terrible for everyone. It's not like that. But things have been put in place, and we have a credit system, and it's based on identity, right? Who you are, what your background is, all that type of stuff, where the Bitcoin economy is going to be an asset-based economy. Oh, I think we lost Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, he's back.
There he is.
Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, so basically the traditional system is a credit-based system, which is based on identity, right? Which allows for implicit bias and stuff like that to come in, and some shady stuff. Where we have the Bitcoin economy and Ethereum and stuff like that is asset-based, right? You can do stuff pseudonymously, right? And you can even work in the space pseudonymously. And I know you've doxed yourself, right? Your identity's out there. But for people that are worried about that, they can literally work anonymously, right? And if you're worried about any type of discrimination because of your lifestyle, who you are, where you're at, our system is open to that, and your identity has really nothing to do with it. And I'd like you to expand on that.
Absolutely. So in the cryptocurrency market, one of the things we have is the ability to get the loans that I stated before, the discrimination that has happened with real estate loans, business loans. all of those things that have happened because of your identity can be taken away with the Ethereum platform, because you can do things such as offer your cryptocurrency as collateral for a cash loan. That takes away all, you either have the money or you don't. That's how systems should work.
Exactly.
If you have the assets, cool. You get the collateral, you pay it back, you get your cryptocurrency back. That to me is one of the bigger ideas going into the future, that being an asset-based economy, it's only based on what you own. It has nothing to do with how you look, your zip code, has nothing to do with your credit score. None of those things, which should factor into whether or not you can pay back money. It should be based on your collateral. So I think that projects like Ethereum, lending projects, different projects where you can earn annual percentage yield on a yearly basis, which far outweighs the banking system. These are all different things where the Black community, every community can benefit, but the Black community, if we're behind economically, so to say, this is a way to join a better system. Why would you not leave the current one? If anybody should be leaving the current system, it should be us. But because it is for everybody, we can pull each other up by pushing the system. And once liquidity enters, there's solutions that I think will take a stronghold in every community going forward.
I'm glad you kind of brought that up. That is actually, a key piece of the crypto space is the financial services on top of the cryptocurrency. Obviously, Bitcoin's a solid cryptocurrency, stable relative to everything else, and it's been around for a while. It's super secure. And that is not debt-based, as Brett says. It's asset-based, so you can transact it. But in essence, though, there's still the financial services on top that we would like to have access to, which right now, a lot of it in the Bitcoin ecosystem tends to be like a financial service company that can still be the gatekeeper. Like if you want a really good, strong interest-bearing account on your Bitcoin or even on your dollars, like there's a BlockFi, but they are like a financial services, almost kind of like a bank, and not everybody can use them. Some people might get locked out for this reason or that. And you mentioned Ethereum having these kind of smart contract capabilities. I'm curious, is this something that you've leveraged, educated people on? I know that you had half jokingly mentioned that you're kind of Bitcoin maximalish, as far as like your stance in the cryptocurrency industry. And I think a lot of people are. I own most of my crypto in Bitcoin, but I am fascinated by these other projects. Have you taken advantage of some of these kind of more decentralized financial services, not so much the coins and just speculating on them, but the financial services that are offered with smart contracts like Ethereum?
Yes, I've tested, like you said, BlockFi. I've used MakerDAO. I've used, Metronome. I've used, a few different services. Most of it just for testing, just so I can teach other people. But MakerDAO, I use regularly if I need it, but not really. And I think the use case for these is so expansive, we can't limit it to Bitcoin. That's why I said maximalish. Simply because as an asset, I think it is the hardest asset in the world, but the financial services needed to make it mainstream, it would be ludicrous to put it all on the Bitcoin blockchain and to rely on that as the only transaction blockchain. There's going to be more solutions, and there's already some out there. I think the explosion of the DeFi market, or even though speculative, at a certain point, that's how Bitcoin was. It was completely speculative, because that's how currencies start out. And then once people find the use cases, liquidity flows in. These services, I think, will be mainstream.
On that note, so we all love Bitcoin. I want to get your opinion on what are your top projects that either interest you, in some way, maybe 3 or 5 projects that you think people should, in your expert opinion, keep an eye on. Since you've been in the market for so long and kind of know the space. What would be your top 3 to 5?
All right, so Ethereum is definitely one. I think it has the potential, like you said, to change a lot with smart contracts. Even though some people may not consider it a pure cryptocurrency, even if it succeeds as a company, a $1 trillion company is very, very good a very good way to go forward. So Ethereum, Monero is my preferred privacy coin. I remember from the beginning when Monero started. Just the promise of ring signature technology. And then somebody came out with an article saying they can track Monero, so it's not completely private. So may have to look more, but as a privacy project like Monero and Fluffy Pony. And and one of the newer projects that people have jumped on, not necessarily invested myself, but I am paying attention to is Link. The Link Marines, since it was $1, I've been following this story more as a, I've of course bought some just to be inquisitive, but I think it's one of the more interesting stories to emerge. Top 5 coin in the last few weeks, and it kind of came out of nowhere.
Or very organic, very organic.
I had one of their shirts from I think 2018 when they were still pre-mainnet, and I've been wearing one of their shirts forever. And suddenly, holy smokes!
Great projects inspire.
Only the shirt went up in value as much as the coin did.
Great projects inspire art, like either people that aren't artists do stuff, because they're inspired by it, they like it, or artists, and you see the same thing happen to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I've seen the same type of energy happen in Chainlink, like you're describing.
Exactly, yeah. So
and it's been a beautiful thing because it's not VC led; it's been like Ethereum grassroots, all the way to the top 5. So way to go, Link Marines.
Yeah. And as you can notice, I usually like projects that are more organic. I'm more of an organic growth guy myself as an independent author. So I tend to like the projects where it actually just happened because of the people that were around. They usually stick a lot more. So those are probably the 3 top projects. I don't know if this would be considered a project, but more of a sector. I think the gaming and VR sector is something to pay attention to, because I do believe the next decade of my life will be more focused on kids, teaching kids and children about Bitcoin so that the next generation can be ready. I think gaming is the best way to get to them. They are already, in gaming. They think, virtual reality is the coolest thing ever. If crypto could somehow be integrated, I think one of
lost Isaiah a little bit here. We'll pause for a little bit, give his internet a little chance to recover. And there he is.
Oh, in and out.
Oh, okay. I think I got you. Kids and gaming. That's the last I heard. And it totally makes sense. If anything, I remember Brock Pierce actually said that what got him so interested in the crypto is his history in gaming. And of course, in a lot of games, you simulate reality. When you simulate reality, almost certainly money is a part of it. And having an interest in the digital currencies that existed in games brought him an understanding, an interest in cryptocurrency. And I think the same can hold true for kids. I know that I valued a lot of the assets in a game back when I was a huge gamer. That brought me to my first, job out of college in video, where I got to play games all the time. It was all graphics and whatnot. So agree, definitely the kids are an initial piece. And as I think we had mentioned before the show, they're kind of the original unbanked. Have you, this is a touchy subject, because it's true. Crypto gives, Bitcoin gives them an opportunity to hold their own digital money and actually to buy things. Do you find it's a touchy subject with respect to kids that normally can't get a bank account being able to control their own money? Do you find that maybe there's some parents in your community that are like, oh, I don't really want them being able to control their own money, they're a bit of a young age? Or does some feel like, no, this is great? And what's the mix and feedback there?
Oh yeah, I think overwhelmingly the parents like the fact that they are earning money in a certain aspect, controlling it. I think they like it if they can teach them about how to use it. So that's sort of the divide, because if they don't know about cryptocurrency and they can't understand what's going on, then they kind of have this pushback. Like, I don't know if it's safe. I don't know. I've heard people were getting hacked. I don't want that to happen. So they don't really know how to use it. But the ones who do, they encourage it. The people that I've met, they push it on their kids as early as possible, because that's a lot of times how they delve into the financial and the tech world. That's sort of their first exposure to any type of financial market. And when I was younger, I think we had 2 or 3 classes about stocks in like 9th grade, and that was it. But there was no, real push to learn about any type of financial tools. And I think this can help. So I think most parents would love it if they start out. When kids can control their money at an earlier age, money should be free. And people talk about ageism, how early is too early. Who knows? I guess we can figure it out as more data comes, because it's starting to happen.
I guess now it's what's too early is when they can't handle a private key. So that's probably the cutoff now. It's not when the bank says they can't manage their money. You mentioned one thing is that the concern about people getting hacked. I think you had mentioned that you actually got hacked once. Do you care to kind of share the details of that? What did you learn from that? How does that change how you describe Bitcoin to people, maybe onboard them. Go into any details about that?
Oh yeah. So it's I had a phone that was hacked, SIM swap, and one of the things that I use that is as an example for people to understand that I lost zero crypto. The
Nice.
reason being
Okay.
is I had
So you
the
got
right
hacked, but
security.
not actually lost.
Right.
Got
So
it.
Nothing. The only thing that happened was a few random messages to some families and friends, and they know who I am. So they immediately. I already told them way ahead of time. I said, if anything like this happens, you know to call me on FaceTime, so you can see my face. So that's me. If you can't get
Got
through,
it.
like, it's something going on. So everybody was prepared. I think it's just, again, if you're going to be in this market, I do have a tech background, so I did have a little bit of an advantage. But if you have the right tools in place, those things can happen, and you can still walk away unscathed. Unfortunately, some other people have taken big losses. There is no such thing as unhackable, but you want to make yourself as padded as possible, as many levels of security as you can have.
Fully agree. Yeah, that is hugely unfortunate. Actually, big names in the space have lost a lot of crypto from getting SIM hacked, and ironically, that's primarily through custodial services, which are kind of the old banking infrastructure.
Yeah.
You hold your own keys. Almost certainly, you're not going to lose crypto if your SIM just gets swapped. But thanks for the information. I wasn't sure what exactly had happened, but that's a really good lesson for people to learn. And especially the communication part. That's actually a good point. Is that anyone that's in the crypto space, if you do get SIM hacked, I have gotten messages from people that were SIM hacked saying, "Hey, how are you doing, Paul?" It's usually "Hi, Paul," which is the weirdest way to start a conversation. Like, you automatically know it's a scammer when the first thing they say is hi and then your name. But then they start asking for some Bitcoin and crypto, whatnot. But FaceTiming or just calling, you doing a video call. Nowadays, everyone's hooked up with a video call. Maybe one of the benefits of COVID. So do a video call if you ever suspect that it's not the person that you're really talking to. Good advice coming from the man himself.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and guys, we for anyone watching out there, we didn't mention this before, but we have a promo going for Isaiah's book, Bitcoin in Black America, at shop.fioprotocol.com. If you buy it there on the site, you'll get 10 people who buy the book will get $100 worth of BTC from Fio, and I think Fio will do a random drawing on the people that do actually purchase the book. And Isaiah mentioned this earlier, and I want maybe expand on a little more. And you talk about in the book that Bitcoin takes out third parties, and this book itself was self-published, which is awesome, by the way. Congrats on doing that. And talk about that experience and how you might have learned something about publishing and how the third-party publishers have really been the gatekeepers to what could be published. And now authors like yourself can just write a book, right? No one in the way to tell you what you can or can't do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I will say it's not because I did print it out myself to start, but I did allow it to be on Amazon and Shopify. So I used the biggest thing with that was just more promotion. People can get it instead of in person, but you are correct. You can actually sell it either digital or in person whenever you want. And just the dream of decentralization, the freedom that we all talk about in Bitcoin, just relaying that to every aspect of my life. So this book was one, and the next version of the book will be the same way. It will be moved off of those sites as much as possible. So I'm getting even more decentralized to the point where it's directly from peer to peer. Use my own server, own, processing, and of course, accepting Bitcoin. So as much as I talk about it, like I said, I want to make sure I practice what I preach. And with this book, that was one of the things I wanted to make sure I did.
I was actually going to ask you, I was looking to buy the book on Kindle. I've got a small place, here in San Diego, not a lot of storage. I don't really have any physical books. So I'm like, okay, Kindle, perfect. But it showed that it was under review on Amazon. And was that an issue that came up recently? Is that something that happens often to publishers that they'll just start pulling? Yeah, is it a sign of censorship in some way, shape, or form?
You're trying to shut them down.
Yeah, so this crowd, this is great. I'm glad you brought that up because I have had to explain this to dozens of people. I literally have an email from Amazon that started with suppressed. That was the
oh my god,
and they gave these reasons.
They're honest. They're honest about it.
That's literally what it said. So I have the screenshot. Maybe I'll share it later. But
No,
it was
please
funny.
definitely share that.
It was funny because before I printed this book, I thought that something like this would happen somewhere along the line, only because I think the type of information I'm getting out at this time period to my community, there may be some suppression going on. Not blaming, Amazon's process. However, I can't really see how I was able to sell the book for a year. As soon as it got popular, all of a sudden it got suppressed. Like at the height of its popularity, the most sales I've ever gotten, that next week it got suppressed. So as soon as I got,
do you know what time when that was that they'd put the suppress sign on the
I have to look back at the screenshot, but it was right when I hit number 2 bestseller on Amazon. As soon as I hit number 2, 2 days later it was suppressed, and then people who were trying to buy Kindle could not. Still working on that now to get that right, but yes, that has happened to me.
What category were you number 2 in?
Still pushing forward. The digital currency category.
Got it. Nice.
Congrats.
So they suppressed the digital Kindle, but you could still buy the physical book, and they didn't suppress that.
They were suppressing shipping.
Really? Wow. Okay, so there's
yes,
full force
as well.
Full force attack on your book. That means you're doing something right. I used to say, when they want to ban it, that means you want to get it.
Oh yeah, man. I've been through the ringer with PayPal, Cash App, with Shopify, with Amazon, with everybody. So I think this book is doing what it's supposed to. And I will say, just as a fun fact, the only time before or after President Trump has ever tweeted about Bitcoin was the day my book came out, July 11th, 2019. Look it up. He's never tweeted about it before, never tweeted about it after. It's just the day my book came out. Yeah. All of a sudden, Bitcoin's bad. Don't buy it.
Someone slid it. Someone slid it on his table.
He saw Bitcoin Zay, and he's like, I got to clap back.
I know. It's just, like I said, just pushing forward, trying not to let anything stop me. Because like I said, the information is valuable when people try to keep it from you.
So, I mean, this is obviously really relevant times for you to have this book out, and you published it in 2019. We enter 2020 with the huge number of protests and riots. And have you found that there was any aspect of the community and the uprising, Black Lives Matter, and interest in what you're saying? And, has there been a stronger resonance with what you're saying as far as a way to kind of backlash against the establishment? Has there been a growth or any connection in that regard?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in New Jersey, in the UK, in Los Angeles, and Raleigh, there were all people who held up signs saying Google Bitcoin in Black America, or look into Bitcoin in Black America at these protests. Nice. Because I think they realized what I realized is that after the smoke clears, there has to be some sort of economic solution, because we've seen this before. People have been rioting and walking in the streets for decades, have not seen the economic improvement in the Black community. So we have the same median value income based on inflation since the 60s. So what exactly has this marching actually done? And I think once people started to realize the real enemy is the Federal Reserve, as a result of that, we have these splits and problems. Then you go for a system that can change that. I even got mistaken as the guy, I am the character on Twitter in Los Angeles. He stood on the steps during a protest and said, hey, this is what Black people need to do, buy Bitcoin. That was the first thing he said. And people thought it was me because
you.
But
and you published a book about it.
Exactly. And I actually got to speak. So, in light of these protests, it's been a great ride as far as people waking up. Unfortunately, had to happen under these circumstances, but I think this book is a great way for people to get started and to sort of relate how their community can work with Bitcoin in the Black community specifically.
Yeah, Isaiah, what do you think the Black community could learn from the crypto community, and what vice versa? What do you think the crypto community could learn from the Black community?
Oh yeah, so I think the Black community can learn from the crypto community. Trust but verify. I think Black people have given way too much trust to people without actually verifying the credentials of the people we put our trust in. Politicians, we give them all this clout, never really verified what they've done. A lot of the financial products that have been pushed in the Black community, payday loans, things of that nature, we trust them, but we've never verified, hey, are they really messing us up? Yes, we've never really done that. in the crypto community, that is number one rule. It's like, yeah, sure, I trust you, but I can verify everything you're saying. That is a higher level of trust, and I think that's what they can learn from the crypto community. I think the crypto community can learn from the Black community that no matter what is put in your way, you have to be resilient. The Black community has pushed through so many different periods of time in America, especially where we've been discriminated against. We've had different time periods where we were not economically viable. That time period is gone with cryptocurrency, and crypto community has to remember we're going to go through those same things. We're almost at the final boss. We basically got to a point where people are trying to join us with PayPal onboarding and like MicroStrategy, people putting in the Bitcoin. We're almost at that point, but the big boss is coming. So you got to be resilient. You got to keep pushing, stay vigilant. And I think those are two things they can learn from each other.
Absolutely, for sure. Something unique about I'd love to learn a little bit more about what your experiences with the Black community and Bitcoin, especially. Are there any, you've interacted, you mentioned that you go to these different crypto meetups, Bitcoin meetups, and you'll be like the only Black guy, and you kind of wish more of my community would come in and kind of join and not miss out on this. When you then take what you learn from, like, say, a meetup, like maybe I was back in the day, 2013, 2014, 2015, and you bring it back to the community, what do you think is a trait of the community that makes it more challenging? Like, why are you the only guy there? What is it about Bitcoin that alienates the community, and why there's what you had said seemed like there's less people in it than should be within your community? What is it about it, and how is it disconnected in a way from traits in the community? Like, what needs to change for them to kind of adopt it more easily, or understand it, or care about it?
Oh yeah. So representation is important. A lot of times in the Black community, not being represented in different sectors and fields kind of discourages people who have not been in that field before. The vision that most people got of a Bitcoin person was a 30 to 50-year-old or 20 to 50-year-old white guy, male,
with
white
a neck beard,
with a beard, who was technically proficient. And when you have
like
that vision,
this guy over there,
yeah, exactly. So,
I don't know the last name.
everybody's vision of a crypto guy was Brett. So the thing is,
so I was the reason why they stayed away. I didn't know that.
They didn't know you back then, but no, that was the thing. That was the vision. So if you're not represented there, one of the things you think is that's not for me, whether it really is or not. And I'm one of those people that it doesn't matter what's in the world, it's for me. I'm gonna try it. There's nothing that'll keep me out. But unfortunately, in the Black community, a lot of things we accept as culture are just things that were given to us, and we're just like, well, this is what we do. We play basketball. We make music, we do the same old, and I'm like, there's way more to the world than that. That was, I think, the initial thing with the tech part. And going forward, the reason why I wanted that representation was I knew we would get to a point where it would be so easy to use, so seamless of a process that the tech part wouldn't matter. That always improves. It was the financial part that I wanted to introduce. And being an early adopter, like you and me in 2013, could have improved a lot of communities economically massively. There were a few times I would try and explain it to Black financial groups, how we could buy 100 Bitcoin when it was, $100. That was $10,000 back then. 100 Bitcoin today is about 11 million. That's a lot of money for education, which is what I wanted to raise it for. And as a savings account, nothing's even close. And I think in the Black community, savings, having the ability to save over time, a lot of times is very, very low, because people are always spending money on bills. A lot of places and people that I would talk to. So even that process would scare people away. But I think we're getting to a spot where financial literacy is taken very seriously in the Black community. Always has. It just hasn't, the information hasn't been there. And I think Bitcoin helps with that, and cryptocurrency as well.
Gosh, you mentioned the inclusion aspect and how important that is. And if you see a community in it and it's not you, how that alienates you from entering, even if you're fully capable of understanding it, even if it benefits you. And for those people out there that don't think that that's a big deal, this is not unlike women in tech. Like, there's very few women in tech, and many ask why. Some people think it's in men's nature to be more math and science oriented. Well, that's totally not true, in the sense that if you think about, I don't know if people know, but it was a woman that wrote a stack of code like this high that launched, exactly, launched the first spaceships into outer space. And in India, there isn't this kind of a disconnect between women and men in tech, and it's about a 50-50 split. Developers about half women, half men. And actually, there was an exchange in India that we had chatted to potential partnership back in the Airbits days, and all of the business people we talked to were the men, and all of the developer tech people we talked to were women, ironically. So it's not ingrained in, I think, the different communities to be attached to or not understand something or understand something specifically. It's almost like it bred from the ground up. And once you think it in your heart because that's where you're used to seeing growing up. That's what you continue to think, even though it's not necessarily true. So I think that's an important note to make. How do we break out of that? How do we get more people included in an industry and a community that they don't see a lot of themselves in, whether it be women in tech, Black people into Bitcoin. And I think you had mentioned too that, you come from a tech background, and wherever you worked, you were one of the few Black people at those companies and projects. How do we get, Black people into Bitcoin, into tech, women into tech? What do you think are some of the solutions to this?
Well, first is, like I said, representation, just being a part of it.
Get more.
So gotta get that in there. But the second thing is education, because like you said, there is no, disconnect between men and women, Black, white, ages. If the information is there, it's been proven that education-wise, if anybody can learn it, they will. And one of the examples I like to use is that in the Black community, before we were allowed to go to certain colleges and learn certain things in certain fields, there were no Black doctors. There weren't any Black lawyers. They were not allowed. And then as soon as it opened, now you have more. That's just simple math. As soon as anybody can learn it, everybody will try. You just have to know it's for you. So representation, education, and then going forward, after we can achieve that, working on passing it down to kids and, either your siblings or kids that simply because in the next generation, you always want it to be better than yourself. That's the only way to ensure sort of survival in any sector or field. And I think tech is where we should, sort of lay our stamp. So I think that's what I've tried to do, try to practice that myself. And I think others should as well. And
that's really relevant because you're actually working on a project to really empower a lot more people, especially kids. You want to share some details about this camp project that you're working on?
Oh, yeah. So first, I want to give a shout out to Crypto Blockchain Plug in Inglewood, California. They had the first session of Bitcoin and blockchain summer camp. They were able to have kids learn about Bitcoin ATMs, about gaming, coding, all the things relevant to getting in the crypto space. And as somebody who had the idea for years, I've introduced it here in Charlotte, which will be starting soon online. And these Bitcoin summer camps, I think, once we can get sort of the template and how we can do it virtually or in person, I think we can replicate it all over the world, because that is the future. This future that we're building now as, sort of the foundation. There's some 10-year-old kid that's going to eat our lunch in like the next decade. He's going to have some idea. Exactly. There's some 10-year-old right now that I want to be the one who at least teaches them or introduces them to it, because I've done it before. I've taught, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds about Bitcoin. They're so excited. That's all they can think about, and only imagine what they could do once they have the access, sort of financially, and then as tech goes when they learn. So I think that is the most important thing going forward in my life, trying to get the next generation going while establishing a foundation for them now.
Awesome. Paul, you got any more questions?
No, I think we covered a lot. Thanks so much for coming on here. Awesome stuff you're up to, Isaiah. Thanks so much for really bringing in a whole new demographic into this ecosystem, because it's built to be inclusive, right? That's the whole point of why Satoshi built Bitcoin, is that you really kind of can't exclude anyone. You can't censor anybody. But at the same time, people like you have to go and be the boots on the ground that actually explicitly include people, educate people into this space, and bring them on board. So you're doing Satoshi's work. He's kind of the god of Bitcoin. So you're doing Satoshi's work, and thank you so much for it, for sure. Anything else going on new in your space? You got the second book coming out. That's probably the last question I want to give us some details. When's it coming out? How much new content's going into it? Is it an update? I think it's an update, kind of like a V2 of the original book, but with some new content as well.
Oh yeah. Well, it's all new content, completely new book. It's all new.
Complete new book. Got
Yeah,
it. Okay.
new book. The reason it's the second edition is because it's more solutions to problems that the Black community can solve with Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Some of the things I speak about, the S2F model, Cantillon effect. These are different concepts that kick it up a notch from the first version, so that people who have learned or either read the book, they can kind of expand their knowledge. Also delve into Bitcoin as reparations, Bitcoin and marriage, 8 practical ways to earn cryptocurrency, different things that in my community I think are needed in order to take advantage of where we are now in the Bitcoin space, which I think, in my opinion, next 6 months to a year will definitely take off, not only in price, but in adoption, simply because every big company is trying to get their hands on it. And I think this book will show my community as well as others how to take advantage.
Yeah, and they can take advantage of it before the big companies do, because it's for the people first.
For the people. It's for the people.
For the people first. Yeah,
What's
let's
great
get
is
everyone in it first.
You can keep adding to this book indefinitely. As the community grows and you grow, and all of our understandings grow and things happen. Like this looks like a never-ending
live
project,
document.
Like a lifetime project.
At some point, I
want to remind everyone to go to shop.theoprotocol.com. And
I think it's .io, by the way. So we'll put the link in the show notes, so people can click right on it. This is for Read a Book Day. So for those that don't know, this coming Sunday is Read a Book Day. So definitely read a book, and we recommend Bitcoin and Black America as the book to read. And go ahead and get it on shop.theoprotocol.io and enter to win. Of all the people that do buy the book, which could be we're hoping is a bunch of people, but 10 people will win $100 in Bitcoin. To buy the book, you do need to have a FIO address, so register a FIO address inside of Edge, and that will allow you to do the checkout process where you just simply put in your FIO address and it'll send you a payment request in a nice, smooth interface. But definitely get the book, send us feedback, let us know what you think, let Isaiah know what you think, and definitely look forward to the second book.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I'll be making that announcement soon. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we'll be here listening. We'll let people know. We'll send that out on Twitter as soon as the book is out, and then hopefully it doesn't get censored and squashed by Amazon. By the way, is the digital version available anywhere other than Kindle? I wasn't able to find it anywhere else.
Not currently. Trying to work to get Kindle corrected, but when the second edition comes out, if it's not corrected, I'll go my alternate route. So
yeah, definitely. Decentralize the digital copy for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, it'll be on my digital shelf. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Isaiah Jackson, thanks so much for joining us. Any last words, Brett?
If you haven't, download Edge Wallet, and if you haven't, buy Bitcoin and Black America. A great combo.
Let's go plan for the weekend.
Any advice for our users, the audience? Parting words?
Live free and buy Bitcoin.
There we go. All right, everyone.
Perfect. Let's end it at that. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Isaiah.
Have a good one.
All right.